Gwen is so flippin' excited for this episode, literally. We have 4 new sports, but the same 2 hosts, and don't be fooled because Gwen is wearing a leotard under her clothes right now. Hello, I'm Riley Kapchuk.
And I'm Gwen. Who else is excited to see Riley play rugby next semester? Because I definitely am. You're watching the Home for the Explored Athletics SportsLine.
Welcome to SportsLine. This episode might look a little different because we will be going down the list of all the new LaSalle sports for this upcoming year.
And later, Riley got the chance to interview some new faces at LaSalle.
But first, let's take a look at our SportsLine top 3 plus 1.
Number 1, LaSalle University expanding its athletic program with additional of new sports, including women's rugby, which will be led by Coach Kelsey McDowell.
Number 2, baseball is also making a return with head coach David Miller leading the program.
Number 3, triathlon is being introduced as well with head coach Shade Moranen.
Number 4, acrobatics and tumbling will also join the lineup led by coach Brianna D'Angelo. That's it for our top 3 plus 1. Now let's dive deeper into our new sports. Rugby kicks off the lineup of new sports at LaSalle University. Rugby is a high-intensity, full-contact team sport that combines speed, strength, and strategy. Played with an oval ball, teams score by grounding the ball in the opponent's end zone for a try or kicking through the goalpost. Whether in the traditional 15-player format or the faster sevens version, rugby demands relentless teamwork and physicality from start to finish.
Baseball is a new team sports. Baseball is a team sports where 2 teams of players take turns batting and fielding, with the objective of scoring runs by hitting a pitch ball and running around 4 bases. The team with the most runs after 9 innings wins. LaSalle University's baseball team, now making a comeback under coach David Miller, is set to bring these exciting elements back to campus.
Since it's been 5 years, where do you see LaSalle baseball in another 5 years from now?
I see us as a contender for the conference for sure. Our coach, Dave Miller, he's incredibly awesome. He was the coach for a few years before it got cut, and he turned a losing program into a winning program in just a few years. So I definitely see us being a contender and a winning team for sure.
Yeah, I know one of his goals is be a destination place to play. So in 5 years' time, I think he will for sure make that a reality.
And for the triathlon is a multi-sport race that consists of swimming, cycling, and running. The sport tests endurance, strength, and strategy as participants must manage their energy and transitions between each discipline. Traditional triathlons include varied distances, from sprint to Ironman events. It's a demanding sport that requires training in not just one, but 3 different sports. LaSalle University's triathlon team, under the guidance of Coach Sage Marinan, is set to bring this exciting and challenging sport to campus. I got to sit down with Coach Marinan to talk about the upcoming triathlon season. Take a look. So triathlon is one of the many new sports being introduced to LaSalle and also a not so common one, which makes it even more intriguing. Can you just kind of explain what triathlon is?
Yeah, so it's the greatest sport in the world because it's not just one sport, it is 3 sports. So it's swim, bike, run, always in that order. A lot of times when you think of triathlon, you think of like what you see on TV when they're doing the Ironman, we're going for epic distances. In NCAA triathlon, we actually race the sprint and super sprint distance. So it's short, it's fast, it's draft legal, which just means that you ride in groups and it's fast and fluid and it's a lot of fun to watch.
And then can you just tell us a little bit about how you got into triathlon and then how you got to this point in your career, ultimately drawing you to LaSalle?
Yeah, so I stumbled, nowadays these girls that I talk to, they did their first triathlon on training wheels, but I found it when I was in my mid-20s, absolutely fell in love with the sport and was like, what can I do for a career that allows me to train all the time? I'll become a coach. At the time, I didn't know anything about coaching. It was very self-taught, a lot of reading, a lot of, chasing down educational opportunities. Had a small business, but like all small businesses, needed some side hustle to make it work. So I began working with teams. I had not had positive team experiences growing up, and I was very surprised to find that like I really enjoy working with teams and building that environment. So it's difficult in the triathlon world to find a team experience, and really the only opportunity to race as a team is in the NCAA. So that's what drove me from, you know, what I was doing in my own racing into triathlon at this level.
And then would you say, starting a little later than some people might have started, would you say it was kind of difficult racing with the people who may have been training for like 10, 20 years before?
Yeah, I feel like it's changed to the point that if I were to go out and race now with, you know, these 16-year-olds, like they would definitely like mop the floor with me. At least when I was still getting into it, the movement into NCAA triathlon was very new. So the sport has developed a lot in a very short period of time.
Yeah. And then what has the process been like so far in terms of building this program from scratch, and what are your main goals in the first few years?
Yeah, so building the program from scratch has been a big challenge, and also a great opportunity. I'm really grateful I've had this entire year to just focus on recruiting and building up our infrastructure. I feel like LaSalle has done a phenomenal job in investing in sports in a way that we're creating something that's going to last more than a year or two, that is going to have good staying power and lasting success. So we're currently working on building up a cycling studio in Worcester Hall that's going to be really cool, and I'm excited to be able to show that to all our prospects and signees. And then in terms of recruitment, like just really focusing on the type of athlete who values team, who values growth, and is excited to be a pioneer of something brand new.
Yeah, definitely. So what would you say excites you the most about being a part of this historic moment and helping shape the future of the program?
Oh gosh. So just this past weekend, I went out to a race in Texas. It was a junior elite race. I went for recruiting purposes, but two of our signees were there, and so I got to watch them race and hang out with their families, and starting to watch that little community grow, be talking like, you know, like, oh, are you two going to be roommates? And just seeing like that sense of culture starting to develop, and just, you know, how it's going to go into the vision that I've had this whole time, and watching that all start to come to fruition.
Yeah. So you had a successful run at Queen's University, helping the team achieve several first-place finishes with a second-place finish at the national championship. So congratulations on that. What are some of the key lessons you learned there that you plan to bring here?
Yeah, I was really fortunate to work at Queen's. I had a wonderful mentor there who really helped me to develop as a coach and learn a lot of the ins and outs. There's a lot that's different the way that we race in NCAA because we're focusing on working as a unit and as a team, whereas everywhere else in triathlon, it's all me, me, me. So a lot of just like little tips and tricks and things that I never would have thought of before, like the way that you're lining up before you even go into the water, how that actually matters.
Yeah.
So it was a great opportunity for me to learn and to bring here.
Yeah, definitely. And you have some time before the season actually starts. Is there any specific race or anything you're looking forward to? Matchup? What is it? Race? Matchup?
Yeah, race.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any specific race that you're most excited for?
I mean, I'm just excited to see our team get here and actually get started.
Yeah.
We'll do a few races in Virginia and then one over at Duquesne, which will be fun to race, you know, here in state over in Pittsburgh before we head down to North Carolina for our regional championship. So I'm just excited to see this team come together and actually get to train and work in person.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I love the new aspects of all the new sports coming in. It's all new and it's fun. It's exciting.
Yeah.
And then as someone with a background in coaching, cycling, and swimming, in addition to triathlon, how do you merge these different disciplines into one cohesive training program for your athletes?
Yeah, that is the real challenge with triathlon, is because there's only so many hours in a week and you're really like the master of none, jack of all trades. So yeah, it's really like working with the team, but also finding ways to individualize training so that each athlete is really getting the focus that they need on the particular sports that need the most development, and doing as much customization as possible.
And then having worked as a personal trainer and helping clients train for Ironman challenges, what have you learned about the mental and physical challenges of triathlon that you bring into your coaching?
Yeah, so working with like my Ironman athletes, like that was a lot of remote coaching that I did. And so, you know, I think that really just brings to light the importance of communication and teaching, because for those athletes, like I wasn't there at the race start to help walk them through things, you know, to talk them down from the emotional highs or lows. And so for me, I think the biggest takeaways from that coaching experience has been empowering athletes to understand what they're doing and why, and to be able to problem solve on their own.
And Ironmans are really hard. Could you just kind of explain what they are for people who might not really know the full, like, in-depth of it?
Okay, yeah. Oh gosh, I'm gonna be a terrible coach if I get these distances wrong. But so a full Ironman it's epically long. The swim is like 4,200 yards, I think. So like about an hour swim if you're good, like nonstop in the water, out in open water. The bike is like 110, 112 miles, and then the run is a marathon straight off the bike, which that's a lot of miles on the bike to then go and try to run on wobbly legs.
Yeah, and how long would you say training for that usually takes?
For most athletes, you know, if they have done a lot of endurance training in the past, like 6 months is a good period of time to work up from safely and arrive to the start of the race injury-free.
Yeah, definitely. As the triathlon program grows here at LaSalle, what are your long-term goals for the program in terms of competition, recruitment, and athlete development?
Yeah, long-term goals for I've been so focused on the short term of get here, let's get going. I'm so excited for that piece. Long-term, I think just, you know, it all comes from this first year and the culture that we develop. You know, it's like gardening. You've got to have like a good plot of soil, the right conditions where all of our little athletes or plants can, you know, thrive and grow. So yeah, kind of creating that piece I think is going to be really important so that we've got a solid team environment so that, you know, as we progress, as we add more athletes over the coming years, become more competitive, that everyone feels like they belong here at LaSalle, like they're part of a home, but are also, you know, continuing to grow as athletes.
Yeah, and how has your transition been moving to Philadelphia and working in Philadelphia?
Yeah, I've never lived in a city like this before, so it's definitely a change. I'm originally from New Mexico, if that gives you some context. So yeah, at first I was pretty apprehensive, but I will say okay, fine, Center City is pretty cool. I got to admit it, the food is fantastic.
So many options.
Yeah, so many options. And then I actually live pretty close to campus, and I have been surprised at how many outdoor opportunities I've been able to find without having to go very far.
Yeah.
So I've got a dog who just wants to be outside all the time, and we're always in Wissahickon Park. We go paddle boarding, you know, all sorts of great outdoor opportunities.
Definitely different, but I feel like it's easy to adapt to in a way.
It is. There's something for everyone.
Yeah. Lastly, what's one thing you're looking forward to most in this next chapter at LaSalle, both for you personally and for the team?
Yeah, I am looking forward to, you know, going to our first regional and national championships and getting to design our own, you know, race kit and, you know, all the pieces that are brand new, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's really exciting. I wish you the best of luck with your season and the rest of your recruiting. Thank you for being here today.
Yeah, thank you. This is a pleasure.
Thank you.
Acrobatics and tumbling is a combination of gymnastics and cheerleading, focusing on powerful stunts, tumbling routines, and tricks performed in teams. The sport involves high-flying flips, twists, and coordinated movements, with teams showcasing their skills in a series of events like tumbling pass, team stunts, and paired stunts. It requires athletes to have exponential strength, flexibility, and timing. LaSalle University's acrobatics and tumbling team, led by coach Brianna D'Angelo, is set to bring this thrilling and athletic sport to campus.
LaSalle University is excited to welcome Darius Nichols as the new head coach of men's basketball. Nichols takes over the program after the legendary Fran Dunphy, who built a strong foundation for the team and led it through numerous successful seasons. Dunphy's impact on LaSalle's basketball is undeniable, making Nichols' task of filling his big shoes a significant challenge. However, Nichols brings a wealth of experience to the position, having coached at both the collegiate and professional levels. His background in strategy and player development makes him well studied to lead the Explorers as they enter a new era of competition. Nichols is dedicated to rebuilding and recharging the team. I got to sit and talk to him about his vision on rebuilding. So most recently, you were the head coach at Radford University, where you led the program to consistent success, ending the season with a 20-13 record. What did that teach you about building up a program, and how are you applying that as you take over LaSalle?
I think the biggest thing that it taught me was, especially in this era with the transfer portal, just the right guys to evaluate that fit you and your program. And I think us having success over the years at Radford, we're just taking the right guys, and a lot of that goes into the information you receive back on the student athletes. So just trying to find tough guys that want to buy into a program in a short amount of time. And I think that's what led to a lot of success.
And speaking of building, you've got a big group of new guys coming in, including a couple you coached at Radford. How do you see this class fitting into your vision?
I mean, the guys we've signed, and I can't go into detail yet, but the guys we've signed, they're all tough guys. And I think in this day and age, you have to recruit toughness. And I think that the biggest thing, being in the city of Philadelphia, a lot of the teams that you see, even the professional teams, like they're built on toughness. And that's kind of the same mindset that my teams have had at Radford and I want to bring here.
And when you look at this roster, what excites you the most about the talent you already have and then what you have coming in?
The biggest thing that excites me is the versatility. I think we have a group of guys who can play multiple positions. I think we have a group of guys that pride themselves on defense. And that's a lot of the success that we've had over the years. We're being, one of the top defensive teams in the country. So I think the guys that we've assembled so far kind of fit that identity of what we want to build and bring here.
And then can you just touch on some core values you prioritize when building a basketball program?
I think the two biggest things, not necessarily core values, but two things that we don't stand for. We don't stand for selfishness, and we don't stand for softness. So, when we're going into the recruiting process or the evaluation process, asking the right questions of people who've been around those student athletes is really big, and understanding that you may be here for 2 years, you may be here for 1 year, but, during that time, how do we get guys to buy in? And so those two things that we don't stand for helps us kind of build a team and the team chemistry at a faster rate.
And then how would you describe your coaching style both on and off the court?
I think the biggest thing, and even when assembling our staff, we do serious work, but we don't take ourselves too serious. I think a lot of college coaches, especially college basketball coaches, take themselves too serious. And I think off the court, we're approachable, easy to talk to. But I think on the court, my whole coaching philosophy is we coach the response to the mistake harder than the mistake. And I think that allows our guys to play with a clear mind. And, the game of basketball is random events. So you're going to make mistakes. Life is random events. You're going to make mistakes. So we kind of coach how we want them to live their life. And I think guys appreciate that, especially guys who are coming from programs where they didn't play a lot. I think they appreciate, how we coach them and emphasizing the responses as opposed to the mistakes.
And then coming from Radford and a couple other places you assisted with, do you think you're going to change your coaching style at all or switch something up, try something new, just getting into LaSalle?
I don't think so. I don't think, the biggest thing is getting better players, but understanding the success and who you are as a coach. I think that's a big thing. And I think the biggest is, the jump from, the Big South to the Atlantic 10, you're involved in better players. And, that's the biggest difference. But as far as changing, my philosophy, my coaching style, I don't see that happening.
So what led you to this LaSalle coaching position, and how has the transition been so far?
What led me here was just connections. Connections to Dr. Allen, the president. Connections to Ash Puri, the athletic director. And, I had a lot of ends with the job when it came open. And, the vision that they have, and I always tell people that your best resource is people. A lot of people say, oh, well, money this, money that, but I think the energy and enthusiasm they have for making, LaSalle Athletics better is what attracted me to the job. And I just feel like, working with those guys, it's more of a partnership. So I'm excited about that.
Have you been in the transition to Philly?
Yeah, I love it. I'm trying to, we've had so many official visits and unofficial visits that, I've eaten so many cheesesteaks already. But other than that, I'm really enjoying, the city of Philadelphia so far.
Have you found your favorite cheesesteak place, or is that still in the
Chubby's.
works? Really?
Chubby's.
Really?
Chubby's is my favorite.
How many have you tried? Give us a list.
I don't try. Oh, how many places?
Yeah.
I've had D'Alessandro's.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan. I've had Chubby's. I haven't had Larry's yet.
Okay.
But Chubby's is by far my favorite. That's my go-to.
Okay.
Is that a good choice?
It's okay. There's definitely
So,
better,
so
but
what's the better one?
I like Jim's. That's a
Jim's.
pretty underrated one though.
I had to try
Stay
that.
away from Pat's and Gino's and those places.
Okay.
Overrated.
Well, Chubby's is my go-to so far.
You've coached at some big time programs and worked under great coaches. Who would you say has been your biggest influence and how have they shaped your approach?
You know, all the big time coaches that, you know, I've played under, worked under, you know, they were great. But I think the biggest one was my high school coach. That was my dad. He's my assistant high school coach. I think I say him because he, like, as a coach, I think you can teach anything, you can emphasize anything, but it's what you're modeling. And, you know, just growing up, you know, obviously living with my parents and my dad being my coach as well, like, he modeled a lot of the things that, you know, our program stands for. So I would say, you know, I've played for Hall of Fame coaches, but I would say my dad would be the biggest, you know, the impact on my life and career.
Definitely. LaSalle has a rich basketball history and a passionate Philly fan base.
Yeah.
How do you plan to connect with the community and bring some energy back to the John Glazier Arena in the same way Dunphy did? I'm talking Big 5, A10, all that.
I think just access. Like, you know, we've reached out to a lot of, you know, fans, students, donors, and just providing them access, you know, coming to practice, you know, coming on campus. And I think that, you know, when you provide that, people feel like they're a part of the team. And that's the biggest thing we're trying to get across is, okay, we're not, you know, it's not Darius Nichols, a basketball coach, it's Darius Nichols, my friend. Yeah. So I think just providing them access, I think that's, you know, building more energy around the program.
Mm-hmm. And then looking at these tournaments you have coming up, what would you say is the one you're most excited about?
The Big 5. Mm-hmm. I'm excited about that, you know, because that's, since I've gotten the job, you know, a lot of people are, you know, I know the history of it and everybody's talking about it, and, you know, the matchups and the pod we're in this year, I'm excited about that. So I'm excited to see the energy behind it, and, you know, I know how big it is to, you know, LaSalle community and the city of Philadelphia.
Yeah. Lastly, what legacy do you hope to leave at LaSalle?
It's funny because, like, I didn't know Coach Dunphy. A lot of people that I played for, worked for, you know, they know him really well. And so when you talk about him, you hear about the impact he's made, not only on the community or schools, but just on the game of college basketball. And not just the wins, but how he treats people. And so, you know, following that's really important to me, is just making an impact on how you know, myself, my players, you know, our staff, how we treat people.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Coach, for being here today. I wish you the best of luck with the rest of your recruiting and your upcoming season.
Yeah.
Okay, we got some insights on some of these new sports.
Yeah, I think the interviews were very helpful for all of us to learn a bit
Yeah,
more.
we're waiting for a couple.
Yeah,
We'll
but
get them.
let's-
We'll get them. Don't worry.
We'll get them in the next few
Coaches,
weeks.
we're on to you. But let's talk about rugby.
I'm excited for rugby.
I am
'cause
excited for rugby.
I've grown up watching rugby, and I feel like it's not, like, you guys don't appreciate it enough.
No.
Because I know you guys haven't seen it,
Yeah,
but I'm
we don't
super
really
excited.
have. Yeah, we
I think
don't.
it's gonna be
Rugby's
good.
like a new thing. I feel like our lacrosse is like your rugby.
Nah.
Like, you don't really have. No. I'm
Oh.
saying like you don't really have like.
Oh yeah, we don't have lacrosse, so we don't
Yeah,
understand.
we don't really have
okay.
rugby's not so popular.
I do
Do you
apologize.
see? So it's
I
exciting
do.
to see. And then it's like the football, soccer, a
Bit of a
sport
mixture.
that I have to learn just like every other sport.
You look like a rugby player right now with
Really?
That's
Really, I guess I play next semester, right?
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I think that's really exciting. I can't wait to get on the field and really.
Neither can I.
And then what's after that? We got
With
baseball.
yeah,
Baseball is making a comeback.
I've seen him practice a lot. I
They've
don't know
been
if you've
practicing.
seen-
Yes, no,
they're
they've been
always
since
out
fall. They've been since
Always
fall.
out there.
And they have a couple seniors. They're coming back as graduates, so they can play a
Oh,
season, which is nice. I like that
didn't
they get to
even
play.
realize.
And then the freshmen, we're getting a new big freshman class of recruits
It's like a
for
50
baseball.
You know how big that team's gonna be?
It's going to be big.
It's like 50.
And it's what we need. I feel like that's big teams,
New
things
faces,
like big
I guess.
energy,
Yeah.
and it's going to be fun. We get to go to a baseball game.
Yeah, I know.
That's-
I'm excited for the coach as well. I feel like David Miller's had a lot of experience, and he's been at LaSalle before. So I think he'll be exciting to
Yeah.
come back and help build this team up and see what they can do.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's like a big word of like all these sports is like rebuilding and building. They're rebuilding while these other ones are
Also,
building.
with the new sports, like quickly touching on, because I don't know if we're running out of time, but like with triathlon and tumbling, both the coaches said when they were getting interviewed and thanking, like in their post to say that they come in, were saying how excited they are to like grow these athletes. And one quote from Sage, the triathlon coach, was, "I'm excited to grow amazing rugby athletes, but strongly independent female leaders as well," which I'm very excited for.
Yeah.
I think that's cool to see.
Yeah. And then on triathlon, speaking of that, that is a lot. We have a couple people who play other sports that are trying triathlon because it's not their season. So
Oh,
they're
wow.
going into playing triathlon. We have some swimmers
That'd
who
be
are
cool.
on the triathlon team.
They might have to jump in with me on the running like track then as well, because
at that point, but that's really exciting. And then 3 sports like combined. I don't even know how that they're like.
It's a skill. It's a skillful one.
Do you think you could be able to?
Nah,
No.
I reckon I'm more on the
Come on,
tumbling
gold
side
medal.
of things.
I don't think so.
Nah.
And then what do we have? Acrobatics and tumbling.
Yeah, I'm excited. I don't know when they're going to compete. The only tumbling I've kind of seen is when I watched this Netflix series called Cheer, and that was really cool.
Yeah.
And it was very impressive.
Yeah, I feel like you should get out there and probably do a couple flips. But I don't know. I know there's like, I never really understood like what's the difference between gymnastics and then
Yeah,
acrobatics and tumbling. I'm sure it's like the same thing, but it's like mainly all floor routines from what I was
Yeah.
reading.
I feel like it's more showy.
Gymnastics is like the bars and flips and beams
Yeah.
and all that. This, I think, is more flips just on a mat.
And in a team.
Yeah.
You're in a team
Yes.
with partners and stuff. I think that's maybe a little bit.
Yes,
as
no,
well.
that's really exciting. And I loved watching the Olympics. That's my favorite thing, gymnastics. So like, I
That's
feel like
impressive.
acrobatics and tumbling, that'll be exciting for this year. And then covering that, I hopefully will be able to talk to some of the players and then coaches. They have also a big team coming in.
I know.
That's exciting. That just about wraps it up for us this episode. Find out more about LaSalle Athletics by visiting goexplorers.com.
Also, check us out at Facebook, on Facebook at facebook.com/LaSalleTV and on Instagram at SportsLineLTV. We welcome you to send your thoughts and suggestions there.
For our entire SportsLine team, I'm Riley Kavchuk.
And I'm Gwen Good. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you at the game.